Today we're going to be doing a jellyfish out of glass. So first you want to cut a piece of glass in a complete circle, whatever size you want. I'm choosing to do one large piece and one small piece for demo's sake. And then you're going to cover this one sheet of glass with whatever you'd like. I am using some different size frit here and some pieces of found glass that we already had from our recycling bins, where somebody already had done a pot melt or had layered their glass and then broken it up into little shards. So some of these pieces are thicker than others and already have some colors mixed in together, so we'll see how those come out. Next, you're going to cut some clear glass into some wavy little lines and strips. I have some that have straight edges and some that have wavy edges. You can do both sides wavy if you really want to, but these are going to be the tentacles. So even if you do just a plain up and down, vertical, regular, non-wavy strip, you're still going to be making these tentacles a little bit wavy with the molds themselves. I'm just choosing to add a little bit more motion here with the edges. Next, you're going to decorate your tentacles themselves. So for the longer strips of glass, I chose to use a variety of dots that I found. Some of them were dichro and some of them were multicolored and some were just clear. And for my smaller tentacles, I used stringer and broke it up into small bits to do a sort of dotted line across the edges of those tentacles. Once again, these are two different jellyfish that I'm making. So you can really do whatever you'd like with your singular one, or also make a mini and a medium size jellyfish like I did here. So now that I have everything together, I'm going to lacy contour all of my tentacles, because otherwise if I full fuse they will shrink and shrivel up on themselves with that one pane of glass. And also I will lose all of this texture with these dots and these stringers. I am also going to full fuse the tops of my jellyfish to make sure that everything is flat and smoothed in. And here we have the large one. You can see I got a good amount of different color variation. And this is my smaller one. Not as much color variation, but little dots of dichro here and there. Mold-wise, you're going to want a circular drape and some wavy molds as well. I'm using these smaller molds that are usually filled with frit to create little canes for my smaller tentacles, and this long wavy mold for my larger tentacles. This takes a lot of firings, especially if you're doing longer strips for your tentacles, because there is only this one mold that is long and wavy and smooth. These other molds that are smaller and choppier, we're going to need to go in as a tack instead of a slump, so be sure to write tack on your papers if you use these smaller square molds for your tentacles. I have also full fused a large and small version of the underside of my jellyfish. These pieces that are clear are going to go under our first circles that we made when we're finally slumped and ready to go. So now, as you can see in this picture, I have all of my components for my jellyfish made for both the large one and the small one. So I'm going to start assembling. In order to assemble your pieces, you're going to need to go into the metal studio and get a diamond drill bit and a small container of water. You want the water with you because you don't want to go straight at this glass with just the grinding bit. You want to submerge your piece in the water if possible, or at least have the bit touching the water consistently. When you're doing the tentacles, you just want one side of your tentacles drilled, and I put my tentacles in the water directly and drilled them while submerged. Besides the tentacles, you're also going to want to drill enough holes to hold your tentacles on that clear piece of glass that we made to go under the main dome of the jellyfish. This is where all of the tentacles are going to hang off of and kind of look like the underside of the jellyfish. So in order to do this, you want to grab the tray from the glass studio that you usually drill in and a piece of wood and submerge all of it in water. You want the wood there underneath your piece so that the vibrations and shaking doesn't ultimately shake the tray or shake your piece or cause any kind of instability, and you want the water to come at least meeting to where you're going to put the hole, if not completely submerged. As always with the drill bit, you want to make sure that you go in and out very slowly in each place where you want the hole and not shove your drill bit into the hole very callously. This will take you a long time, and honestly this will probably take you a whole class time. Just take your time, be patient, you don't want to shatter anything, and make sure that you put a nice hefty hole in the top center of your dome. Now this next part you can do at home if you have some fishing wire. I recommend anything that's thin enough or translucent enough for your need for illusion, with your little dome piece of glass that's already had its holes drilled through, and some clear Elmer's glue, and some scissors. You're going to cut equidistant pieces of this fishing wire and then create a knot on one end. This knot will then be dabbed with a little bit of clear glue to make sure that it doesn't unravel, and you're just going to thread these pieces of plastic wire through your holes, making sure that the knot sits on top of the hole at the top of your dome. Then you will attach each piece of wire to a leg, to a tentacle, and create, once again, another knot on that side as well. Now I chose to do these little knots at the end so that I'm not wrapping the wire around the piece itself and knotting it at the top. This way they hang more freely and fluidly. Of course, you can choose to have your wires as long or as short as you want. You can vary that length as well. It's all up to you. And you're going to do that to all of your little legs, your little tentacles. Now we're moving on to the last part of this assemblage. We're going back into the metal studio, drilling a hole in the other tops of our pieces right in the center of our mounds. That means a hole that will match up in both your top rounded dome and your bottom rounded dome, because these are going to connect together with some wire. For me, I'm going to be using some 18 gauge wire. You can use 20, but I would suggest something a little bit thicker to make it stay a little more sturdy. And we're going to be creating a flower of sorts, not really for a decorative purpose, but really just to hold the bottom of this piece, this dome, in place with a little bit of leeway for movement. So I'm really just bending this piece of wire that is about a foot long at least in 4 directions, bending it back into itself, that goes up underneath the dome and threaded through that center hole. Next, about an inch up from there, the top of that dome, we're going to create another 4-pronged piece with that wire. You're really just bending it around. It does not have to be 4, it can be 6 or something more than that. I wouldn't suggest less than 4 though, because this allows the piece to kind of waver a little bit, but doesn't allow it to completely fall into one side. You're trying to create illusion of floating with these domes. You want them to float, quote unquote, right above one another. So we're gonna thread the rest of this piece through the top dome that has more of the opaque color and create a little noose at the top to hang where you want it. As you can see here with my first attempt, the wire ended up being way too short, so I ended up needing to add more wire to create a hanger at the very top, going through that top dome. Now let's go through that one more time with a smaller version of our jellyfish. You'll need less wire for this part, obviously, because it's a smaller piece, and you're once again creating 4 little prongs that hook together to go underneath our suspension piece with the jellyfish legs. Thread it through that center hole, create another 4-prong piece an inch up from that dome, and thread that through your top dome that is opaque, adding that ultimate noose at the very top to hang our pieces from, and there you have it. Your own little nonsensical nautical wind chime is done, cute as ever, and ready to go float through the world. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Please show us any variations that you create on this. Use up some of your fantastic scraps that you've had lying around, and we will see you very soon here in the Golding Art Studio.